Our favourite time of the week is to have a chat to Megyn Kelly in the United States, as she's had a very, very busy week. She joins us now, and lovely to see you, Megyn.
Great to be here. How are you, Paul?
Oh, look, I'm heavy-hearted. I mean, Dr. Fauci, what will the world do without somebody waving their finger at us collectively about COVID, telling people who they can and can't have over for holidays? You had a very fascinating interview with the former president's son-in-law and policy advisor, Jared Kushner, who told stories about just how political this guy is. I don't know anyone's going to miss this guy when he's gone, apart from a whole bunch of sooks who read the New York Times and watch MSNBC.
Well, here's what's going to make you feel better. You don't have to feel bad because there'll be another one just like him. What are we going to do without him? We're going to get another one just like
the Fauci factory.
Yeah. Oh my God. Like, there's a million more who see the world exactly as Tony Fauci does. That's why his institution is what it is. He and the head of the NIH, which is the group over his group, are a political unit. And if we didn't know it before, we certainly learned it during COVID. The thing that bothers me is we've literally got superhero dolls of Anthony Fauci. The Washington, D.C. mayor proposed Anthony Fauci Day. They worship him on the left in this country. And so there's been no accountability for the massive damage this guy caused. Massive. He says that there's something called the Fauci effect right now in American medical schools. It's another one of his lies, where people are applying to medical schools in droves, not because they want to go to med school, not because they want to make a difference, but because of him, he says, in a humble brag, where he says, the reason is, and I wrote it down, I symbolize a craving for consistency, integrity, and truth. Okay, nobody even challenges him on this, notwithstanding the numerous lies he's admitted he told, not to mention the ones he was actually caught in, the biggest of which was probably, I did not fund gain-of-function research at that Wuhan lab. And he did, and he later was forced to admit it. And he wants us to believe he's the face of integrity and truth. The media lets him get away with all of it.
Hallelujah, sister. I'm so with you. Let's talk a bit of politics here, because a bit of stuff came out this week where, to explain to people here in Australia, the generic ballot is put simply, if you had a choice, would you vote Republican or Democrat, as opposed to the candidate running in your state or your electorate. Now, previously, Republicans have been winning that and winning big, but now Democrats are slightly in front. Is this suggesting that November is not going to be anywhere near what some people expect to be a kick in the backside for Biden and his mates?
I definitely think that his fortunes have gotten better, and those of the Republicans have gotten worse. I wouldn't use the term bloodbath, which I was using before, right on the heels of COVID in particular, and people being outraged over what they were doing, and all sorts of CRT emerging as being in the classrooms. But I do think the biggest factor in that is Donald Trump is back in the headlines, and he drives enthusiasm on the Democratic side. The media knows it. He also drives ratings, so the media has every incentive to make every story about Donald Trump. There's a core group of Republicans that absolutely adores Donald Trump. Most of the Republican Party got behind Donald Trump in the last two elections. It wasn't enough in the second time around to push him over, but he motivates the left more than he motivates the right. And I do believe that the nonstop Trump news has had an effect on that generic ballot.
It's interesting, in your interview with Jared Kushner that was on your show today, people can listen to it on their podcast, it's a very interesting chat. He says he had a few learnings out of 2016, but one of them was that controversy helps spread message. Now, that worked in 2016, didn't work in 2020, but what do you think the central message Trump has going into 2024? Because for me, every time he talks about election integrity and elections being stolen, he revs up every one of the 80 million people who didn't want him to be president.
Mm-hmm, exactly. And he could get some of them. One of my listeners called in and said, why can't, Ivanka or Sean Hannity or somebody who's close to Trump say, Trump, stop that. You've got to move off of it. Like, he doesn't listen to anybody. He listens to himself and his own instincts, and he truly is feeling aggrieved. Okay, so, and I get it, because it wasn't an election that was fair to Trump. I don't think it was stolen, but it wasn't fair in many ways. But he's got to move on. Look at our economy right now. We've got record inflation. He has a real message. Things weren't like that during the Trump presidency. As Jared Kushner was pointing out on our show today, everything was gangbusters prior to COVID hitting under the Trump presidency and the Trump policies. That's what he should be talking about. I'll get you out of this mess. I had you out of this mess just a few short years ago, but he's off message.
We love her, and the only place you can see her on Aussie TV is here on Paul Murray Live.